Hi, Graham. Hi, Joel.
Hi.
First off, congratulations on this. It's just such a cool thing, I think, that Marvel's
Awesome.
doing. My first question is something that I think a lot of people don't know, and I'll direct this to Graham to start. Um, a lot of people don't realize how different the role of being an editor in animation is from live action. Like you're a lot more involved in the story from the beginning. Um, was that, do you find that that's just sometimes like a little daunting, like, oh man, like we have so much responsibility as editors? I mean, you can both answer this. Yeah.
Uh, yes, it's terrifying. But it's a tightrope walk along with a whole crew of incredibly talented filmmakers. You know, we have an
Mm.
amazing director in Bryan Andrews. We had amazing writers with head writer Ashley Bradley and Matthew Chauncey as well. Um, and also the stories are birthed with the studio, with Kevin Feige and Victoria and Lou and Brad Winderbaum. All these voices at the studio are incredibly talented as storytellers. They're very much in tune with the kind of the broader story that they want to tell. In terms of as we kind of start putting these episodes together, it's very true. You're right. Editing in animation, we start at a stage with the storyboards, so it's earlier than in a way maybe the equivalent of live action, because you're not actually stuck with the footage that they had to shoot that day and they ran out of time to set up the camera or something. So you can really dream up with the crew, with the director and the storyboard artists, hopefully the best approach at a scene.
And Joel, you guys are telling, I mean, essentially, completely different stories all in these little chunks.
Yeah.
Did you always know exactly kind of what stories you wanted to tell and what points you wanted to build these each episode around, or did some of them kind of change drastically from the beginning?
No, I mean, ultimately, there's the overall pitches that the writers made at the beginning of the season, going, here's all the stories we could tell, and Kevin would be like, that one, that one, that one, that one's cool, but we're not doing that one, not yet. And so it's they cherry picked what was the best overall series basically for the season. And so then we got the scripts, and the scripts were overall, like incredibly strong.
Mm.
So it was a matter of being faithful to what was on the page and what can we do to plus it from there. Even, what more can we, what insane action can we bring to this that supports and doesn't just detract from the story. Like for example, in 104. You've got the fight sequence there between
Yeah,
Strange,
yeah, strange,
and
strange, yeah.
and there's this phenomenal stuff that Bryan Andrews, the director, and Aram Sarkeesian, the board artist, were coming up with together. And as we're all working in the room, we're like, we've got to reground this in the characters. Like, what are the stakes here? We could have him fight until he just overcomes them and absorbs himself, and is like, yeah, I win. Or we can reestablish the emotional reason for why this is happening and what the stakes are. And that's Christine. Is he gonna work with himself in essence
Yeah.
to bring her back, or is he gonna, in that final temptation moment, try to resist, even if he's gonna lose? At least we've reestablished, like, Christine. This is the whole reason here, and
Yeah.
because we haven't seen her since the beginning of the episode, pretty much. So it's those sorts of things that as you're working through the boarding process and everything, you're like, how can we best, you know, uh, what is the best shape for this jewel, to bring out its light and its
Yeah. And
best
Graham,
shape.
I imagine that's a challenge a little bit in, because with animation you can kind of do everything. Like, I mean, you can go even bigger than you do in live action with action sequences, because animation even doesn't have the limitations that even CGI does. Is that sometimes a problem when you just find yourself wanting to go so big and having fun with that, and then realizing, oh wait, we actually have to like bring it down a notch and reground it? Is that ever a
Yeah,
challenge?
yeah, it's always a delicate balancing act, to try and strike that right balance. And I think I think one of the most terrifying things in animation editing is actually, you've got these beautiful storyboards and you might have one or two for a given shot that are a drawing of a person, and you might have those really emotional scenes. And one of the scariest things to do is hold on those beats and to try and create the space for an animator to basically come and bring something special to that moment. So it was interesting because I remember at one point having a scene where we got some feedback where they're like, "Yeah, cut the. Why are we lingering here?" And we're like, "No. Let's wait until the animation comes in and really find out whether And they're like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." Because in live action, you see that performance.
Yeah.
Day one,
you have that flicker in the eyes that motivates.
Yeah, the little flicker in the eyes that oh, that was worth holding for. You have to create the space for those moments in animation, and so it's a delicate balancing act of trying to create that space for those, and then hopefully the animators come in, and we did have some pretty amazing animators on this show, I think.
I imagine it's hard because unlike kind of live action editing, which is kind of knowing how to tell a narrative, you have to have a lot of visuals in your head of very unfinished things. Like, no, just imagine, when it's all filled in. And Joel, you had mentioned, you said that, you kind of had, you can really, there are 100 different stories you can tell and 100 different points in the MCU that you could pick different stories. And you said that, Kevin Feige came in and was like, yes, no, this is cool, but later. Was there, getting into the mind of Lord Feige, was there a kind of
we would
like
all be so lucky.
Yeah, right. Was there like a through line or like a common denominator between these episodes that kind of these stories got chosen, as opposed to other stories you could have gone with?
We'll see.
The Marvel dodge.
The Marvel do-si-do there.
Yeah. And this one, this can be for both of you too. There are a lot of really bold choices made in some of these episodes. Like, oh, you like those characters? Too bad. Like, oh, you like this one? Well, he's evil now.
What if we murder them?
He makes every wrong choice. Were there some points where, or a particular moment that each of you were kind of like, ooh, like a little nervous about maybe how fans would react to it? Or is it exciting being like, yes, we're going to blow everything up?
Literally in the Hulk's case.
Really? Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Too soon.
Sorry. That is,
that was one of the moments for sure.
No, I think that it is a little bit of a vulnerable creative act to be creating these shows, because you are taking chances. This show is basically, it's felt like being a test kitchen. We're trying really bold new flavors that, some people are going to be like, what? Why did you serve me that? And then they'll see the next episode and they're going, oh my God, this is my favorite thing. I didn't even know this was possible in the MCU. This is my favorite. And so I think that that's been kind of the fun on the show, is to try pushing. And that's been the directive from the top. Lord Feige has really encouraged the crew to push the limits of not just the MCU, but also I think of animation.
Yeah.
So,
for example, like that 104, the 104 episode, we got to the end of that screening, and Kevin, as he's walking out, and he's like, he stopped in the door and he's like, it's amazing, first of all, but he's like, I don't know how we're going to pull this off with the animation, but he's like, keep pushing it, and I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, great.
That's
awesome.
I really think that was my favorite episode. So, thank you both so much for your time, and it's really fun, and I love everything I'm seeing, and I'm very, very excited for everybody to see episode 4, because I think that's going to be a lot of people's favorite. So thank you so much.
Just wait for more of the season.